How should a manager conduct performance appraisal? This is what we are going to talk about in this video. You may have read many times that 70% of the employees are not happy with their performance appraisals every year. One of the most important person to conduct performance appraisal system is the manager. And in this video, I am going to share with you some useful practical tips for each manager so that you are able to conduct performance appraisal review of your teams not only in the best possible manner up to their satisfaction, but also you are able to motivate them through this exercise so that they are able to perform even better for you next financial year. The first thing which each and every manager should do is that you need to schedule this performance appraisal discussions at least 2 weeks in advance. Most of the manager, whenever they are free, they call the manager, come, I will do your performance appraisal. Now that's a wrong way of doing it. As a manager, you also need time to prepare. As an employee, as your team member, they also need time to prepare. Because remember, it's a very emotional exercise. It's not only a performance management exercise for 1 minute or 30 minutes. Every employee is very attached to this exercise because his career is dependent on that. His rating determines the kind of increment he will get, the bonus he will get. So his whole career trajectory is dependent on this exercise, and hence most of the employee takes it very, very emotionally. The second is, it is not a one-way exercise where as a manager you are just giving feedback to your team members. So performance appraisal discussion has to be a two-way process in which the employee talks more, your team member talks more, and you listen more. You need to understand what all he has done throughout the year. There are many things which you may not be knowing. So you need to schedule the discussion for at least 1 hour time and also keep 30 minutes buffer. Don't keep back-to-back performance appraisal review meetings or any other meeting so that you are hard pressed. You are looking at watch and conducting the performance appraisal system. So it has to be a two-way process where your team member speaks more and you as a manager listen more. Third thing which as a manager you should do is to ask. Do not be judgmental. It is a discussion session. It is not an interrogation session. So you should not be in a habit of asking questions, shooting questions. Have you done this? Have you done this? This is the mistake you did. This is the mistake you did. That's a bad practice. The performance appraisal discussion, you should be asking question and not being judgmental. Some question which you should ask that what went well in the last 1 year time. How do you see your performance in the last 1 year? And what do you think could have been better? Tell me something about the collaborative project which you did with other functions. So these are certain questions which you need to ask so that the intention is that you encourage the employee to talk more. Remember, people wants to learn, but they don't want to be taught. So if you started giving him preaching, there will be a barrier which he will keep in front of you and there would not be two-way communication. The next thing which you should keep in mind while conducting annual performance appraisal of your team members, that though it is a very formal discussions, it is important that you keep it informally formal. It may be a good idea to have this discussion outside the office or have a discussion in an informal setup so that you are making your team member comfortable. You are encouraging your team member to talk, to feel free and share everything what he has experienced in the last 1 year's time. He also shares with you his plan of future, what he thinks of you as a leader and working in the team. The next thing which you should do as a manager is don't dwell too much on the past, what he did not do, what kind of bad behavior he exhibited. Give feedback so that you are feeding him forward, because this team member is going to work with you next year also, and your success as a manager depends on the performance of your team members. So it is in your interest also that you provide right kind of feedback to your team members so that their performance, their engagement, their motivation increases and they do much better than last year for you. So some question which you can ask is that you have learned in the last 1 year time, how do you think you will improve in the next 6 months or 1 year time? How would you do things differently? What are the competencies which you are trying to build? What are the collaborative projects which you want to work on? How do you think that what you will do in the next 1 year time which will take you closer to your career goal? So these are certain questions which you need to ask so that you are able to understand what his way forward career perspective is, how he wants to contribute in your team in the next financial year. I have seen many managers doing a lot of mistakes, and one of the mistake is that lot of surprises. You call team members and you have made a list of the things which he has not done. When he did not come in time, when he took leave without informing you, when he failed on the project, and you have created a failure checklist and you are very eager to give those feedback your team members during performance appraisal discussion. Please avoid that. You are his manager, you are his mentor. It is your responsibility to guide him, and that's in your interest, because that team member only is going to produce result for you, and your success depends on the contribution of all your team members. So do not have any surprises and do not be too critical during performance appraisal discussions with your team members. One more element as a manager you should do is that you need to have frequent communications with your team member throughout the year. Please remember, appraisal may be done quarterly, half-yearly or annually, but as a manager it is your responsibility to provide him developmental feedback on a frequently basis, maybe fortnightly, maybe monthly, so that he has enough time to improve on the area of improvement which you want him to do. It should not be a critical exercise that you have made a laundry list and you are giving him feedback only during performance appraisal discussions. When you are conducting performance appraisal review of your team, it is important to be very as objective as possible. And any feedback which you are providing after the whole discussion has happened, all the review which he has shared with you, be objective. Focus on the KRA and the KBA, which is key result area and key behavioral areas, so that he understands that you are giving him feedback on the KRAs which was agreed. You are not going out of the syllabus and giving the feedback on the area which he was not supposed to work. So it is very important that you focus on the key result area, the targets which was given. If he is meeting the target, articulate that. If he is not meeting the target, then what are the developmental area where he failed, where he can improve better. These are certain insights which you need to provide, which will not only give him a good way forward to work on, but he will have very high respect for you also. And the final tip as a manager, when you are conducting annual appraisal cycle, I want to share with you that you are not the last word, which means that the rating which you are giving to your team member is not the final one, because that rating is going to the reviewer, will go to the functional head, will be discussed for normalization. So always keep your expectation of your team members very realistic. I have seen most of the managers telling their team members that I gave you the best rating, gave you A+ rating, ऊपर जाके कम हो गया. This is a bad practice because it negates your credibility. The team member will start feeling that nothing is in your hand, and then they will start getting aligned to people who they think has the power. So during performance appraisal discussions with your team member, always keep the expectation at the lowest level, so that if he gets higher rating, he is happy. If he does not get a higher rating, then he will realize that you communicated that to him during the annual appraisal discussion. So these are certain tips which I strongly feel that as a manager you should be incorporating and you should be discussing when you are having performance appraisal discussions with your team member. It will not only create impact and improve the performance of your team, but it will also establish you as a wonderful manager and a wonderful leader. I hope this video was useful. If you think that you have any query, any comments, something which you want to ask or something you want to tell me, please mention in the comment box. I would be happy to learn from you also, and I would be happy to share my answers to any query which you may have. All the best to all of you.